Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're diving into something pretty interesting. It's this idea of enoughness of money. Like how much is actually enough to, really feel secure and content.
Right. Yeah.
You sent some really interesting stuff over actually, including this blog post that just jumps right into the heart of it all.
It's such a fascinating topic.
Yeah.
Really is. Because it's not just about like budgeting and numbers.
Yeah.
It's more about like understanding how money and happiness connect.
Right.
And that whole feeling of having enough.
Exactly. And that feeling can relate to so many different things, like having enough to feel secure, enough to, go after your passions, or even just knowing when to stop chasing more.
Hmm.
Speaking of, one of the sources you sent over was about this champion athlete who just walks away at the top of their game.
Oh, wow.
Talk about knowing when you've reached enough.
Yeah.
But before we get to that story, let's start with something a little more down to earth. The blog post calls it the fries analogy.
Ah, yes. The fries analogy. I love this one. It's a really clever way to illustrate this concept of marginal utility,
Okay.
which might sound kind of technical,
Yeah, it does.
but it's actually pretty simple.
Okay, so walk me through it. I'm all about a good food analogy.
Okay, so picture this. You're at your favorite burger joint, right?
Okay.
And you've got a massive plate of fries in front of you.
Love it.
That very first fry. Pure bliss.
Oh, yeah.
You're savoring every bit of that salty, crispy goodness.
Totally.
The next few are still amazing. But eventually something happens.
Oh, I know exactly what you mean. You hit that point where they're just not as satisfying anymore, right?
Right.
Like you start to get full, maybe even a little sick if you keep going.
Exactly. That's marginal utility at work. The satisfaction you get from each extra fry, decreases.
Yeah.
And at some point, it might even become, negative.
Okay, I get it. But how does a big pile of fries relate to money and having enough?
Well, think of it like this. That first bit of money you earn,
Yeah.
maybe your first paycheck, it brings you tons of joy, right?
Yeah.
Freedom, independence, being able to buy stuff you need and want. As you earn more, you're able to do more, of course, but the increase in satisfaction might not be as, dramatic.
So you mean like that 10th pair of shoes might not bring you the same thrill as that first pair?
Precisely.
Oh, okay.
And the takeaway here is that this applies to the big financial decisions, too. A bigger house, a fancy car.
Yeah.
These things might not make you happier if you've already gotten to the point where your wants and needs are met.
It's so true. This reminds me of that thing we read about J. Paul Getty. Ridiculously wealthy, right?
Oh, yeah.
In that movie about him, someone asked how much money he needs to feel secure, and he's just like, more.
It's like a classic example of how some people just have this drive for wealth.
Yeah.
Like it's a goal in itself.
Right.
Even with billions, there's still this feeling of needing more. It can be never ending.
Yeah, it's like the money itself becomes the thing causing anxiety, not security.
Absolutely. And Getty's story really highlights how important it is to define what enoughness means to you.
Mm-hmm.
What does it mean to feel financially secure? Is it a certain dollar amount or a feeling of comfort and freedom?
And that's a really good point, because then you have someone like Ash Barty, the amazing tennis player who, retired at 25 when she was at the top of her game.
That's a great example of someone recognizing enoughness in a totally different way.
Mm.
She had tons of success, won championships, and still decided to walk away.
And in a field like pro tennis, where it's all about competing and pushing for more, that's a big move.
Yeah.
It's like she realized that feeling happy and fulfilled wasn't all about achievements in her sport.
Mm.
She had a bigger picture of what a meaningful life was.
Totally.
And it just goes to show that enoughness isn't one size fits all. It's personal, it changes, and it's tied to your values and what matters to you.
I think you hit the nail on the head. It's about aligning your finances with your overall well-being. Finding that spot where you feel comfy, secure, and free to chase the things that bring you joy.
Okay, so we've got this fries analogy showing us how satisfaction can fade, and we've got these two totally different stories about wealth and success. But how do we take this idea of enoughness and make it work in our own lives?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
That's what we'll be looking at in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay, so sounds like we have some work to do.
We do.
We'll be right back to dig deeper into the practical side of enoughness. Okay, so we explored this whole fries analogy, right? We saw how even billionaires can get caught up in wanting more, and we heard that story about Ash Barty choosing something totally different.
Mhm.
Now the question is, how do we figure out what enough means for us, in our everyday lives?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it's tough these days.
Yeah.
I mean, we're always getting these messages about what we should have, what we should be going for.
Oh, totally. Social media advertising, it's like everyone's telling us we need more, bigger, better. How do we tune all that out and figure out what actually matters to us?
It's a good question. One way is to start by figuring out your values.
Okay.
What are your guiding principles in life? What truly matters? Family, creativity, personal growth, helping others.
Got it. So once you know your values, how do you connect that to your money and this idea of enoughness?
That's where it gets interesting. Let's say family is number one for you.
Okay.
Financially, that could mean you prioritize saving for your kids' education, or maybe it's about creating experiences you can share together, even if they're simple and don't need a lot of money.
I like that. It's about making sure your money matches what you care about.
Right. It's about being intentional with your money
Yeah.
and using it to build the life you actually want. Another thing is knowing the difference between your needs and your wants.
Right. Needs are the essential.
Yeah, like food, shelter, healthcare, keeping the lights on.
And wants are things that, make life better but aren't totally necessary for survival.
Exactly. Travel, fancy dinners, a new gadget.
So it's not about cutting yourself off.
Yeah.
It's more about finding that balance, meeting your needs, enjoying some of your wants, but not getting swept up in that whole wanting more thing.
Exactly. And, sometimes the simplest things work best. Have you ever kept a gratitude journal?
I've heard of them but never actually tried it.
It's pretty amazing, actually. Each day, you write down things you're grateful for.
Okay.
It could be anything. A good cup of coffee, a sunny day, your family being healthy.
Yeah, I can see how focusing on what you have instead of what you don't have could change things, especially with money.
Right.
If you're always thinking about what you're missing, it's easy to feel like you'll never have enough.
Exactly. Gratitude really helps with that. It helps
Yeah.
you see all the good stuff you already have, even if your finances aren't perfect.
So we've got knowing our values, separating needs from wants, and practicing gratitude. Any other tools or tips to help define enoughness?
Oh, tons. One that I find helpful is called lifestyle design.
Lifestyle design. Okay, that sounds interesting.
It's all about figuring out what kind of life you want and then working backward to figure out what you need financially to make it happen.
So it's like creating a plan for your dream life, both in terms of your time and your money.
Yeah. It's about looking at the whole picture, making sure your money goals match your overall well-being and what you want to do in life.
I like it. And I'm guessing doing this could help people figure out where they might be overspending or chasing after goals that don't actually matter to them.
Definitely. It's about building a life that feels real and fulfilling, not chasing some random definition of success or enough.
That's a great point. Okay, so we're getting a good handle on the practical side of enoughness, but I feel like there's more to uncover. How do our thoughts and beliefs about money fit into all of this?
You're totally right. The psychology of enoughness is super interesting and really key to having a healthy relationship with money.
All right, well, let's get right into that psychological piece then. Okay, so we're back and ready to dig into the psychology behind enoughness of money.
Yeah.
I'm curious how much of our relationship with money is actually about, our mindset and beliefs.
It plays a huge part.
Yeah.
It really does. Think of it like this. Our beliefs about money, they're often super deep-rooted,
Okay.
shaped by how we grew up, our culture, even past experiences.
So someone who grew up with, money always being tight, they might still have those worries even if they're doing well as an adult.
Exactly. Early experiences can really stick with you. But then on the flip side, someone who grew up where money wasn't an issue, they might feel way more confident about their finances.
Yeah, that makes sense. So how do we become more aware of these beliefs about money?
Right.
And more importantly, how do we change them if they're holding us back?
Self-awareness is key.
Mm-hmm.
Start paying attention to your thoughts and feelings about money.
Mm-hmm.
Do you tend to focus on what you don't have or what you do have?
Yeah.
Are you afraid of not having enough? Or do you see potential in abundance?
So it's about tuning into that inner voice and figuring out what's behind our money choices.
Absolutely. Once you recognize those beliefs, you can start to question them. Are they real, or are they just old stories you've been holding on to?
It's like giving ourselves a chance to rewrite the story, create new beliefs about money that are more empowering.
Exactly. And this brings us to another big part of enoughness.
Okay.
Focusing on what you can actually control.
Huh.
There's a lot in the financial world that we can't control.
Mm-hmm.
The stock market, interest rates, the economy in general.
Oh, yeah.
It can feel kind of overwhelming.
Totally. Sometimes it feels like you're just along for the ride,
But instead of getting caught up in those things, try focusing on what you can control. Your spending, your saving goals, your career choices.
Yeah.
You have power over those
So it's
things.
about owning our financial well-being, making choices that actually match our values and goals.
You got it. And the cool thing is that even small steps can make a difference over time.
Right. It makes
Okay.
it feel less overwhelming, right?
Right.
Like, okay, maybe I can't control the stock market, but I can control how much I'm saving each month.
Exactly. And as you focus on those things, you might notice a shift in your thinking.
Okay.
You feel more in control, more confident about your financial future.
Yeah, it's like you're moving away from fear and lack to possibility and abundance.
Yes. It's a
Yeah.
powerful change. And this whole deep dive has shown that enoughness isn't about hitting some magic number in your bank account. It's about aligning your money choices with your values, challenging those old beliefs, and creating a life that feels good and meaningful, regardless of your net worth.
So well said. And for everyone listening, remember, if you've got more thought-provoking stuff you want to explore, we're always down for another deep dive. Until then, keep asking those questions, keep learning, and keep figuring out what enough means for you.